Hey everyone, TC here, back with another video, another sniper tips and tricks video. The first tip or trick is be a female character. You take up a hell of a lot less room on the screen and to other players. Female characters are just smaller. The smaller the target you are, the harder you are to see. On the topic of people seeing you, always wear a face mask. So human faces are extremely recognizable to other humans. If a face can be seen, you're very easy to spot. So just grab a motorcycle mask or some sort of other mask. Motorcycle tends to work best, and just cover up your face. The next tip is, when you're approaching a piece of cover, like this rock, and you're behind it, let's say you're attacking an enemy up here, the first thing that you should do when you get behind it is wherever you went down, move. So when a player is looking at you and you've ducked down here, but then you appear up here for counter sniping, makes it a lot harder for them to hit you because they'll be scoped in waiting for you to appear. But now they have to move. This is especially effective when the enemy is in a static OP, such as a window of a building. The way that an assault force would actually do it is, the saying is, this is a real life saying, 3 to 5 stay alive. 3 to 5 steps down, move up. 3 to 5 steps down, move up. I'm going to demonstrate this with our landscape that we've got here just outside of my base. Let's say there's an enemy behind this rock and you know that he's behind the rock, however he's not popping up yet and you want to reposition onto him. So you'd use your 3 to 5 stay alive because I've got no cover, I'm in the open when I spotted him. Okay, so you do 3 to 5 steps and then down and then move. 3 to 5 down, move. 3 to 5 down, move. And you're always moving towards your cover. So if I went down here, my cover's here, I'm not that far away from it, so I'd move back. 3 to 5 down, move. Okay, until you get to a really good spot to counter him. Alright? This is hard to demonstrate when I don't have anybody filming from the other end, but this simple method's so effective. This tip's quite complicated for me. For you, it's easy. But hitting a moving enemy. What if an enemy is sprinting from this rock to this tree? How do you hit him? There's 2 parts to this. I'm going to teach you the real life calculation that I used, and then I'm going to tell you what to do in SCUM. Okay, this is what a real life sniper would do. They'd be sitting here, and they would range, rather the spotter would, they'd range different points. Okay, so point here, and then they would use the rangefinder to give the distance of these 2 points. They'd use the compass and SCUM, at least, to give the angle. Once you've got the distances of these 2 points, it's a simple pi calculation to figure out this distance here. So if an enemy is moving from this point to this point, then if we know the distance that x is, then we can reverse it to figure out his speed. Okay, so if he goes from here to here, we know what his speed is, how fast he's traveling. In SCUM, you can just take an average of the player's average sprinting speed, and then you just reverse engineer that to how many windage points you need to adjust for to hit an enemy that's sprinting at, let's say, 100 meter increments. That is the real life calculation a sniper would use for calculating speed. They'd know the velocity of their round, with whatever weapon that they're using, and thus they'd know how many points, minutes of angle they call it, to adjust their scope in order to hit a moving target. It's less useful for people because you just use a dope book data on previous engagements to hit a person. The angle the person's running at matters. It gets a lot more complicated. However, the reason that a sniper would really use that calculation is for hitting moving vehicles, figuring out a vehicle's speed in order to hit, let's say, an engine block with an M82 or something like that. In SCUM, it's a lot more simple, and you don't have time to do the calculation. A real-life sniper, they would sit there and they would create a range map, and they would study their dope book on the terrain and angles and all these sorts of things, and they'd have probably a couple days to figure that all out before they take a shot, or at least a few hours. In SCUM, it moves a lot quicker. So in SCUM, much simpler. I've done all the calculations. Just set your windage to plus or minus 3. If you don't know how to set your windage, it is simply Alt-Shift mouse wheel up, Alt-Shift mouse wheel down. If you set it to plus or minus 3, it's around 60% win rate depending on the distance and the weapon that you're using. But most of the calculations for a sprinting enemy that's perpendicular to you is 3. So to keep it nice and simple, if an enemy's sprinting away and you want to hit him while he's moving, set your wind to 3. Easy. That tip took me about a month to reverse engineer. So yeah, you guys are welcome. So when I was training to be a sniper, one of the exercises was how to spot things where you shouldn't be able to spot things. What they would do is they'd take an area, like this, and they'd go out and they would strategically, they might drop a jacket there, and then they might, put a, let's say, canteen there, and they would, maybe there's a weapon behind that bush, and, there's a holster there, and you'd be sitting at a spot, and you'd have to find these items, right? So what you would do is, if you're looking at a bush like this, the idea was that you look past the bush, you look beyond it. So I don't know if that makes sense, and it's really hard to explain, but you can see all those items that I've just placed. Even though we know where they are, they're hard to see. So you need to look beyond the terrain. You need to look beyond these tufts of grass in this bush, and you really need to be scanning properly in order to find these items. Okay, so instead of looking at the leaves of this bush, looking through the gaps of it. I have a couple of really good examples of me spotting enemies where, to a non-trained person, they'd just be impossible to see. I'm going to play them for you now, but just remember that phrase, look past the concealment in order to spot an enemy.
Give me UTC.
Negative, tracking an enemy. If he did, he's watching you now. DVSM down.
Hit.
So of course, as a sniper, you can do the reverse. So if we're looking at this bush here, and that's going to be our hiding spot, you can see from here there's a big, massive, gaping gap there, and it's really easy to see through. Why? The sun's behind it. So let's go look at it from the other perspective. Let's drop this bag. So this is the spot here. Okay. Be very easy for an enemy to see me here. However, if I were to move, just utilising the shadows, the reason that that spot's easy to see is because the sun is directly behind it. So, in order for us to conceal ourselves, we want to utilise these shadows. This point here would be much harder to see. Right here. That's your spot. Okay, so let's look at it from the other end. Just go directly forward and then just go back. That's where I was hiding. Much easier than this. Okay? Or rather harder to see. So from here, the video is going to be too long if I keep giving you tips and tricks. So we'll end it. But make sure to subscribe for more tips and tricks. There is plenty more to go over. But yeah, I hope you guys learned something, and have a good day. Bye.